So, hi. I made an initial video about signals and where I shared some my thoughts about the themes and inspiration for the signals and kind of things that went together with it. I thought that we better do also kind of a more conversational video together with Starwing here about the tie-ins of the album to the book that Starwing is writing and those type of things.
Yeah, I was thinking about the first song that you finished for this album was actually Wide Open Little Heart.
Yeah.
Like the song Signals was in the works, and some other ones were just beginning to be composed, but that one you did the whole thing, like the lyrics, the vocals, the whole song first.
Yeah. And I remember that I started making it like quite quickly after I finished my work with Dream Engine.
Mm-hmm.
And actually I did it together with our first track, like when I had like the
just the music for
the Sun Undefeated. Yeah, because I wanted it to kind of intro it also, so that when the track finishes, that how the Wide Open Little Heart continues from there. And how kind of the first track kind of preludes the whole thing, sets in motion, and then comes the Wide Open Little Heart. And
one really neat thing I didn't even think of before, but the audio that you had, like the composition for the Sun Undefeated, when you made that and I listened the first time, it inspired the first scene for one of the characters in the new novel. In the first novel, the two central characters are John and Alex, and the first scene for John in the new album, in the new book, was inspired by the Sun Undefeated.
Yeah. And that's kind of interesting also, because you mentioned like John and Alex there, because always when I make songs, I do have these abstract kind of images or thoughts or stories in my head that starts forming up, even though might not tell them or might not think too deeply about them. Like, it just happens. With the Sun Undefeated, I was thinking of John and John's perspective, kind of like thinking kind of satellite perspective, looking at down at the scorched earth or the ruined earth and that sort of stuff, and the sun hanging out.
But isn't that because I told you what I saw when I heard it? Or were we just so much on the same wavelengths that...
You told me later on also, and we discussed about it earlier. But yeah, like when I was thinking that's what I was thinking, like while I was doing it.
Wow.
Yeah. But of course, how it just goes to Wide Open Little Heart, then Wide Open Little Heart was more of Alex's point of view down from Earth, about things that he's going through, and this kind of whole it's a bit schizophrenic kind of a message there, or the kind of themes that he's going through, because you like the torn between these two states, like you want to stay but you got to leave, and a lot about it is about you know, kind of how we in our everyday lives might, or not everyday lives, but like in our lives, during our lives, we have these type of situations that we are kind of forced to take some action or whatnot, and that we need to do, and we might be torn about our decisions also. And how in the books or whatnot you have to work towards getting out from the planet to outside and whatnot. You have to make that leap from the human form to the machine onto the digital world, basically, and escape. And those type of ways that you are, like, the individual can be really torn, and that you got to go where you want to stay and sort of stuff. And it's also so much about like the way I personally felt a lot about it's like this the introverted heart, basically, that you want to be out there, but you always find yourself kind of more into the turning inward and not outward, but it's that sort of a thing.
For me, I always thought Wide Open Little Heart was from John's perspective, and like everything you just said, I can see it from his point of view, the same exact thing, except without giving anything away from the first novel. You know, he has a reason to not want to go away, but he does want to go also onto this new journey in his own life.
Yeah.
He also wants to stay where he was. Like, that's more abstract than the goal of humanity to leave the planet, but just a more just in life, that he sometimes just didn't want to go forward.
Yeah. It's interesting how it can be kind of like what's the word, like perceived from so many multiple points of view, and the meaning of the song can be also like assigned to, like, for John, for example, even though I kind of was writing it from Alex's point of view, but I think that's really good quality about it.
Well, yeah, and hopefully other people can, see that from their perspective when they listen, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, it's meant to be more like a taken as much more like personal view for it.
Yeah. But it has its foundation in the world that we're building through the music and through the books. But yeah, anyways. So yeah, I was thinking about the first half of the album is very much inspired and driven by the experiences and the energies of the different characters, John and Alex, but mostly Alex. Right?
Yeah.
Like, Run Myself to Ground is absolutely Alex's energy, that rebellious.
And notice how the first half, like you said, that it's about these characters' experiences, whatnot, and it's also like individual's perspective towards the rest of the world, the influences and aspects and things around them.
Yeah.
Whereas the later part will be more introverted and more going towards the kind of
like the internal
experiences
mm-hmm.
and those emotional, deeper emotional experiences.
And spiritual, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how sun and the moon symbolizes that division, whereas the first half was kind of like the sun half,
mm-hmm.
and the latter part was the moon part. And what I was like thinking about was this type of a rather kind of occult idea about the sun and the moon, where sun reveals, of course, sun reveals the dimensions outside of ourselves, so that the light reflects off different places, so we can see the dimensions outside of ourselves to make our reality and live in the outside reality,
right.
Operate on that. But then, of course, you would like to have the opposite of the sun, basically, which would be the black sun, of course, like the dark
right.
sun. But in this case, it would be like the moon,
mm-hmm.
moon side, because we have the cycles of sun and moon on Earth, but it would kind of represent that sort of nighttime and the night side of things, whereas the moon would light lend that light to your inner dimension,
right,
and revealing dimensions, distances within person's own psyche and their own soul, whatnot, and that kind of division is there. And also, like, sun represents so much about life, and the moon, of course, symbolizes about death and that sort of stuff. So there is that sort of symbolism,
right.
you know?
The moon unending was the first thing that you composed after Frodo passed away.
Yeah. It's a deeply personal composition for me.
Yeah, it was the only way for you to really release those feelings and to express them was through the music.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the experience was for you, but I remember when you were making it, and I was listening to it when you had finished. I was in the hall playing with our other cat, trying to be okay. And listening to it was so calming, and to me it was really uplifting. It gave me strength right then. And I know that it came from a lot of pain, but I was receiving it when I was in pain, and it was uplifting.
Yeah, well, it has uplifting qualities to it. It's comes deep down from kind of this soul space, but it comes from a position of power. Kind of this type of I don't know, like was like existential understanding and that sort of stuff, and love and acceptance of it. That's where there's a lot with the interactions with death, delving inward, and love.
Yeah.
How the interactions with these and how they tie together. Like I said before, like I've been fascinated with that topic overall. Keep exploring that. That's it.
Yeah, before Frodo passed away, you were working on Noise of the Living, and Frodo loved that song so much that his name was part of the project name right from the afternoon when you wrote that beautiful bass melody.
Yeah.
And he loved it so much that, it's sad that he wasn't able to hear it finished, and you were so torn afterward that you actually thought about not finishing that one.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most powerful songs on the album, and I listen to it when I meditate, and it gives me so much strength.
Yeah, like I did that song halfway, or a bit over halfway, as it was when Frodo was around, and I finished it afterwards, after he had passed. And
after you did The Sun Undefeated, you were able to come back and finish it.
Yeah, and I did the end part with the pianos and everything there too. So it's like had to have that end tone in it. I feel like it was kind of just cementing that feeling that I had in the end.
It's always hard to talk about, but We Disappear for Frodo.
Yeah.
That song stands apart from the rest. That there are certain inspirations that I took from that song to apply to the new novel, but it wasn't the other way. Like, that was entirely our personal experience with Frodo, and we made that for him specifically.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful, moving song that I've recently been able to listen to it without crying.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a tough one to do, without having kind of emotion overload on that, and still is at times rather hard to get back to it or listen to it or anything.
Yeah. I had a really hard time singing the part that I did. I wanted deeply to do more, but I absolutely couldn't.
I'm really glad that you managed to do what you could.
With a few breaks to cry.
Yeah, because the end result with it was really, really good. It's really beautiful. That's a good feel in that way, That's what we did, and it just felt right.
Yeah, and I know that you were thinking of retaking the opening part of the song because your voice was so full of emotion. But I had to say no, it's keep it like that. That expressed it in a way that like if you retook those vocals, it would be lost.
Yeah.
I think the fragility in your voice really is so perfect for it.
And I really do like how the song ends.
Yeah.
Also, the way that it facilitates a really good cycle back to the beginning of the album, as the sun undefeated starts playing again. That it makes a very flawless cycle.
Yeah.
That way. And also that if you listen to the whole Dream Engine right to the last song of that album and then continue from there to Signals, it works fluently.
Yeah.
And that's by design. Like it is by design that it so initially made it so that it was just gotta be the fluent continuation of the story from there after Dream Engine to the Signals, and that it would just go.
But did you have it in mind to make a final track that would play back into it, or did that just happen through the inspiration of what we were living through?
It's a happy accident, I would say, like that it just worked.
That's great. Yeah. I really like that it makes it completes the cycle, and that really ties into so much of what's in the album. With the sun and the moon, and of course, but the transformation, life and death, the way that you were exploring in your other video recently also.
Yeah. So I guess we have everything.
I guess we've talked a lot.
Yeah.
We always like to talk a lot. That's how come we have to write books about the world of the fairy tales, because we talk a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's about it. So the album is gonna come out November 15th. So be on the lookout for that. Hope you enjoyed our little chat here.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
All right. Bye.
Bye.